Welcome to episode 15 of Jonathan Tripp Live and another edition of Talk Social Nation. All right, we are going to be broadcasting into the group a little bit later on, and we're also going to be talking about some Talk Social news. There's a lot happening these days in social media, and you just don't have time to get to everything. And I try to put these episodes together, not just for marketers, not just simply for business, but for everybody. And after that, we're going to be talking about online community growth and why I think some leaders only think in tactics and why you're falling for it. If you're a part of Live Talk Nation, then you got to know a couple of things, right, guys? This has been around. This group has been around for probably more than a year, give or take a little bit here and there. And the dates aren't so much important. I don't really celebrate birthdays quite like that, but I do think it's kind of cool that we continue to grow, even though we don't have Blab and we've kind of gone around, we've searched around things like this, right? And to me, the group itself has changed from just a let's just talk about the show. Although that's kind of cool, that's interesting. And not just because it's my show. I mean, I like to do that for other people in enjoying their shows. But increasingly, I'm seeing that there's a meltdown within picking your groups. And I see the rise of mega groups with very low engagement compared to the size of the group, versus smaller groups that seem to kind of be dying out. There's just less content. And the people that are in it are connected via Facebook anyway, so they communicate that way. And so the group just kind of dies. And it's a really slow, painful death. And I kind of feel like in some ways, Live Talk Nation could really be at that point if it wasn't for, I really want to say, like, there's a good solid handful of people in the group that consistently engage, they consistently post, they're there. It's one of the places that they like to talk. And so one of the things I thought about, I was like, should I just close the group? Should I just close the group and just say, hey guys, move on over, pick, here's a list and just pick from one of these or find your own. We're going to be done. Right. And it doesn't mean that, like, I hate you guys or anything like this. That's not it. It wouldn't be that. It would be because the group isn't serving a main purpose. And then I said, you know what? Hey, there's a much better way. And by the way, if you guys haven't done yet, would you guys share this out just real quick? If you're tweet it out, or if you're on Facebook, share it out. I share this from my fan page so you can share it everywhere. It's already in Live Talk Nation, and we're going to do an after chat today. But I want to encourage you, maybe tag a friend or share this out, because I do want to share a couple of things, some ideas that we have, and we'll kind of talk about them here a little bit on the air and things like this. And guys, I'm sorry if I keep looking over, it's because I have a couple of the comments off on the side and things like that. So here's the thing, right? We talk about today's topic is community growth tactics, and I'm gonna give my 2 cents and bear with me, just stick with me, because I think it's kind of important that I bring this up, and that we see this. Okay, now so here's the deal. Growth tactics are one thing when it comes to driving social media platform engagement. That's a lot of buzzwords in there. What I'm saying is that there's a lot of little tricks and tips to get people to engage. Okay, there are lots of little things that you can do. Facebook is doing them. You guys see them already. Like the colored backgrounds, and I put a poll up earlier this week to talk about, like, what's your favorite Facebook? I mean, it's a Facebook group. Let's talk about Facebook, right? What's your favorite Facebook new feature? Is it the live? Is it live from your phone? Although that's not necessarily new. It's new to the platform in the larger sense. Is it the 2-person live? But not everybody has that. Is it is it any of the updates that they're doing? Is it the color backgrounds? Personally, that's my favorite. I don't know why the engagement that I get, even when I'm making a sarcastic comment, seems to get more engagement. And I think it just really kind of comes down to this, that Facebook is actually allowing more people to see it in the newsfeed than other posts. So we used to see that when it was a lot of just texts or text messages and like link forwarding. And then as they were pushing photos out, the others, they had less room in the news feed, and then photos were the big thing, and then live video, and then video was the big thing, and then live video is the thing. Now, I mean, so every time they add a new feature into the timeline, there's only a certain amount of space, and guys, I talked about this last week, there's only a certain amount of space in your news feed. It goes the same thing with Instagram, it goes the same thing with Twitter, it goes through all those things, okay? So here's my real point, I'll cut right down to it. Guys, the more content you put out there, it does not necessarily mean that more people are going to see it, especially with the way that the algorithms are working. Now, there's some nuances to it, and there are some tactics to it, and the tactics are okay. They have a time and a place, guys. You have to understand that. Like there is a place, there is a chance for tactics, because you actually need something to implement. How do you do this? So you want, 10,000 viewers. How do you get the 10,000 viewers? So tactics have a place, but without the substance of the content, without the substance of the purpose, a lot of the tactics, it gets you hyped up. I mean, you guys have all kind of gotten caught in there. You've clicked on that thing that looked kind of cool, and it took you over to this page, and you were like, wow, this is really great marketing, and you sign up for the email or the download or the whatever, and then you were like, that's it? Like, that's what I had? And you really felt disappointed, and you realized you got sucked in by a tactic. Well, community growth kind of has that as well. And I got to say this, sometimes it's really hard to make the right kind of noise. It really is. It's hard to make the right kind of noise for your audience or for your community. It depends on what's actually being shared and what's actually out there. So here's the thing. Within Live Talk Nation, and I wanted to kind of go back to some of the old things that we were doing. You know why? Because they worked. It's not a tactic. It's just it's a core belief. It's a foundational, it's fundamental. And you know what it is? It's talking to people. It's seeing what they're doing, providing a place. And we kind of got away from that. And it's my fault. It's my responsibility. I'm the admin. I started the group. I know it does. Buck stops here. Okay. So one of the things that's really important to me, it's welcoming new members. So I want to encourage this, and I used to do this, and I'm going to start doing this, but when we get new members in, I would really encourage you guys, just give them a like, give them a comment, say, hey, welcome, thank you for coming. And if you have your own group, by the way, a lot of these things work for your group. And you know what, it's, as far as like in this particular thing, it's like being a real person and being a normal person. Can I say it like that? Yeah, I can say it like that. It's my show. I can say what I want. Welcome the new members. When somebody comes in, treat them like a human being. Hey, great to see you. Thanks for joining. Hey, what do you do? We try to ask them some questions. There's lots of different ways. Make sure it's appropriate and it just reflects who you are, but be nice to them and welcome them to the group. All right. So that's like kind of like the intro. But now that we're in there, now what? And guys, I think there's some different things. Like I want to get back to when we used to share the broadcast. Now it seems like when somebody has a broadcast, they just pop it in, right? And we used to not do that. We used to have it so that we would have a post and it would be pinned through the week or whatever, and you would just post your link there, and so people could have one place to go and they could look through it. I did that. I'm also looking back at starting up the calendar again. I used to have it so that all you have to do is just quick drop your link, drop the time, and it would actually put it into a content calendar that I had. It was a Google Calendar, and I hosted it on my website, so it was actually very easy to find and things like this. And the whole point was that you could go and you could actually see where people's shows were. It was a really revolutionary idea because we had Periscope shows, Blab shows. We had YouTube programs, podcasts. We had all sorts of those kinds of things. It was any of that content that was scheduled that was going to go live. And if we'll probably just start with a simple hey, share your show, and I'll ask the group, hey, do you guys want to go back to a content? Would a content calendar? It's almost like a Reader's Digest for live shows, for podcasts, for your video, for whatever. That was the point. But again, you got to be you have to be, it's for Live Talk Nation. It's for them. So that's an idea. But again, the whole point of this is to allow and give the members a place to share and to talk. If you're making great content, and that kind of leads me to the next thing, guys, not everybody does live podcasts or podcasts or video. I get that. Sometimes it's more static, or it's like, hey, I just wrote this, or I launched my book or something like this. And for the most part, we've tried to keep Live Talk Nation not a sales pitch fest, a spam fest. I'm gonna change some things up, where if you want to, I wrote in my notes, and I don't know if I did this on purpose or what, but I call it content for days, right? I want to put in a place where you guys can share your content, so that it doesn't like completely it doesn't so fill up this the daily space, so that we can actually find find the content, but to have a post that if you guys have content, say like you wrote a blog article, you have a book, or you even if you have like a sales op and you want to say, hey guys, I do this service, I think making room in the group for that, I think that will be the right way to go. Making room for it, not so it's just how many posts can we put in, but having one place for you guys to do it. And so that's some like community involvement. That's very community driven, right? So we have new members, we have some community driven content, interactive content is the next thing. And I'm going to put two ideas out there, and I don't know if the comments are working for me today, but I am watching the content, the comments and stuff like this. Okay. Especially here in Facebook, but I want to ask, here's two ideas that I had that I think would bring some value exclusively to, or primarily to, Live Talk Nation. There are over almost 750 members in the group. Not everybody's active. I get it. That's just the way groups are. But there are some really amazing people in this group, okay? There are some really cool, smart, funny, talented, you guys get the picture. There's some really amazing people in this group. And I think that highlighting them or showcasing them, if that were, could be, and I think that would be something that would be neat. That'd be fun. It would be kind of interesting to get to know people. So I want to start doing that. And if you have somebody that you would like to nominate, or that you would like, hey, I think this person would be a good highlight person of the week or whatever, and we should come up with some names or something like it. You guys should come up with a name, okay? You can drop that in the comments or whatever. But I'd like to highlight some people in some of their ideas and things that they're interested in, or just so we get to know them, kind of like a highlight. And the second part is actually a little bit deeper, and this is actually really one of the things that I was thinking of for a production team effort. Okay, I want to call it something like a story sharing series. Okay, this would be where we very brief. And it almost like podcast style, but like one of those like walking podcasts, like from here to there. And you guys know what I'm talking about, right? These aren't like the 3-hour epic experiences. These are the shorter ones. These are the ones that you just kind of listen to. It's bite-sized. It's really kind of trimmed down, but it's a story sharing series because there's a ton of stories. And I'm not talking about like marketing stories and like, this is how I came up with my product idea, or this is how I'm going to be designing this. I mean, how did you get started in business? Or maybe this is my why story or something. It's a personal story. I want to get to know people, and I want you to have a chance to be able to know them. But I would like to start a story sharing series exclusively within Live Talk Nation. We can share out maybe the content after it's been published, maybe like a week later or something like that. But I would really like to do that. And if that's something that you think is like, all right, maybe give me some faces or meh faces. But if that's something you like, or that you think that maybe, hey, we could kind of do this, like, yeah, I see some real possibilities with this. Either give me a message, drop a comment, because I'm looking to connect with you guys within Live Talk Nation. And if you're not part, you can always join in. But I think that would be some really fun and interesting things. Okay, so we have new member stuff. We've got content in there, sharing content, community-driven content, and then we have content exclusively for the community. And I think, guys, when it comes to engaging with the community, and we're gonna I just kind of sum it up with like talking about what are growth tactics for community. It really comes down to this: it's feeding your audience the kind of content that they want to see. Okay. And we know that, and today was a little bit about tactics, and I shared with you some of the things that I think would work, some of the things that I think are kind of cool, and that I think is the next step, at least for this particular group, keeping in mind that every group is a little bit different. But these are some really good principles, and maybe this is something that you could use for your group. Now, guys, I do want to close out today's show because we've been going for a little bit, and we're going to be getting into, we have an after chat. I always do an after chat. I'm going to see if I can broadcast that directly in. We're going to be over at Smile Time, and that reminds me that I didn't put the link in the comments. Could somebody do that? Could somebody put the link for Smile Time? It's like smiletime.com / and I think it's channel / like Jonathan Tripp Live or something like that. If you could do that, just check it, and I will pin it in the comments here for this. But guys, anyway, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter over at jonathantripp.live. I know it's just down there, so you go there. It's just you'll see this show being played. Just click on the button. It's just a quick sign up, and it'll get you on the mailing list.